He's the Jock.
And she's the journalist.
And you're listening to the J&J Broadcast. Welcome to your weekly Pick Six, where we review the week's hottest sports topics. I'm Shannon Green, the journalist, joined by Max Starks, the Jock. How you doing this week, Max?
I'm doing good, Shannon. Can't wait to get into these topics.
Oh, man, and there was a lot going on this week, Tulsa, North Carolina, Ferguson. It feels like the list goes on and on. Max, I'm just curious to know from your perspective as a former athlete, did the topic of race come up a lot in your locker rooms?
The topic of race came up, infrequently in our locker rooms. I think because we didn't have the advent of all this social media and obviously the prevalence and prominence of all of these issues being brought to light. Guys really talked about if they had a situation or an altercation themselves with police, and we talked about it because I know I've had that situation happen to me before in similar circumstances. But, it wasn't as talked about and amplified as it is right now.
It always surprises me when I talk to coaches and I ask them, how much do you guys talk about race? And they say, well, we don't really talk about it a lot. We just talk about football and doing the right things. Sports is such a very unique space where you take different races, different backgrounds, different, class systems, and you bring them all together. And you would think that that would be sort of a breeding ground to talk about these things. So I'm always surprised when I hear that race doesn't come up that much, especially when you work in these sports where there are large amounts of African Americans that are impacted by these issues, and there are a lot of white coaches and white teammates as well. It's just surprising.
Yeah, well, I think it's more so people don't want to address the elephant in the room. It's something that's a constant. It has been a constant. I mean, just read, if you've ever read $40 Million Slave, they don't want to talk about it because it is a tough subject and it takes you away from your goal, which is to win games as a football team.
I wish that we could win in life and talk about these things and come together.
Off the field. On and off the field victories.
Absolutely. Speaking of on and off the field, another thing that kind of I wanted to talk about is Florida State recently reinstated their one of their quarterbacks, Malik Henry, who was suspended for a violation of team rules. I always wonder when they say team rules, which rule? What actually got violated? Do you think that these rules should be made public?
I don't personally think they should be made public. I mean, I think if we're asking for them to specify what type of rule it is, given whatever it might be, if it's a potential ongoing investigation or this, that, or the other, you don't want to taint whatever that is. And I think, for these young men, they have long careers ahead of them, or you don't want their lives being lambasted. It's already public enough with the advent of social media, 24-hour news cycles, and they're put on every single web page when they do something wrong. So I think, just keep it the team violation to a team violation and keep it moving. I don't need any extra meat.
I do think that it would be a good idea, however, for coaches to publish what their team rules are. Because when you have situations like Baylor or Penn State happen, you have to go back to the fact that cultures are first created that allow for those things to go on. And it would be nice to have a level of transparency that would allow the public to know when you are buying a ticket to go watch these athletes and watch these teams perform, that you have an idea of what their rules and what the morality and what their stances are. So, just my opinion. But moving on, we saw another interesting story happen in sports this week. Metta World Peace has rejoined the Lakers. Got to get your thoughts on this.
Ron Artest is back. The angry man. You can switch your name, but you cannot switch your past, Ron Artest. Or Metta World Peace, however you want to call it. I call him Ron. Mama called him Ron. I'm going to call him Ron. And I think, this is a great move by the Lakers to bring in some senior leadership or veteran leadership, however you want to say. I say senior because he definitely is past his prime years. But his work ethic, his abilities to lead and inspire with this very young Laker team, I think really bodes well to bringing that type of fire that you need for this very young squad.
Well, I guess I got to give the Lakers credit for being creative and not being afraid to go back to something that worked. If it wasn't, broke, then, I guess go try and fix it with something that worked before. But it'll be very interesting to see how that particular edition meshes with this version of the Lakers.
Speaking of new versions, Pitch will be debuting this Wednesday, and I just want to get your thoughts on how you feel about this show kind of bringing out the prominence of an African-American female breaking the glass ceiling of Major League Baseball and coming in and all the issues that she's going to have to deal with being a female in a male-dominated sport. What are your thoughts, and are you excited to see this?
Okay, Black female sports journalist. I am level 10 excited about this show. Every time I see the previews, I get so hyped because it's just a fascinating time, I think, to be a woman, period. You know, we are on the verge of potentially seeing the first female president in America, and I think the issues that women face are coming to the forefront. So I think I am so eager and fascinated to see the show, and I am so proud for Fox for bringing it to the public, and hopefully it creates more conversations.
Here's my question. Are we getting a foreshadowing of Monet Davis making her way to the majors? Is that what we're getting?
Ooh,
I think.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah. I don't think so, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it is interesting, and I think it is something that it brings something to television, because television has been losing to reality TV for years now, and I think it will be exciting and something that's groundbreaking that hasn't been done before. So I'm excited as well, Shannon. You know what else I'm excited about? I get to ask you a question about this Brangelina divorce. Let's play a game. Let's create something fun. Let's relate this to the game to the game of sport. Brangelina divorce. What would be the equivalent of this in the sports world? What couple would bother you the most, or would it strike a nerve with you, or an immense reaction if they broke up?
Okay, so I've thought very long and hard about this. And first, let me say it's very sad to see a family breakup. So obviously, we're not happy to hear the news, but
Six kids.
It is entertaining.
6 kids.
I know, 6 children. 6 children. So I do feel bad for them. But in the spirit of our show, the couple that would absolutely devastate me would have to be Cookie and Magic Johnson, because they have been through so much, and they have been such an inspiration. You know, they have stuck together through literally sickness and health. A lot of people talk about it, but they're not really living it. So I just, if those two ever break up, I think I will be absolutely devastated. What about you?
Holly Robinson Pete and Rodney Pete.
Oh, good one.
Because, I mean, they are just the gold standard of football couples and life after football. Two successful individuals in their respective fields coming together. They're advocates. They're a power couple. They write books. They have TV shows. So that one will probably be my toughest one, would be Holly and Rodney.
Yeah, I think I like that one too. I think I'm changing my answer.
Yep. Boom.
I'm biting.
Got it. Switch the vote. All right, well, how about this? Who and what matchup is your favorite for college football this weekend?
I'm taking it back to the American Athletic Conference, as I have before. Yeah.
Surprise.
But I was right when I said Houston and OU would be a great game. And I think
that's going to be a Big 12 game next year. That's going to be a Big 12 game.
Yeah, we'll see. And I think I'm going to be right again when I say USF versus Florida State is going to be a bomb game, because these teams are a lot more evenly matched than people think they are. As you saw, Florida State got blown to bits by Louisville, and USF has been wrecking shop. They're 3-0 right now. They've got a great team. They've got the eyes of the nation on them. Willie Taggart's been doing a great job with this team, so I am very excited to see this game, and I think USF can pull off the upset.
Well, talking about upsets, I'm going to go with my Gators, University of Florida, versus the Tennessee Volunteers, because it's a top 20 matchup. That's first and foremost. Secondly, we've beaten them 11 years in a row, and they keep saying every single year that they're going to beat us. So, in honor of that, for number 12, I'm saying this is going to be a shocker. No matter what our quarterback situation is, offensive line situation is, I know one thing. The Florida Gators know how to beat the Tennessee Volunteers. And they haven't really played up to their expectation of being the SEC East leader. So I think it's time to move aside and allow the real leaders to assume their place on the mantle as SEC East leaders.
I would expect you to say nothing less.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're all out of things to say. So thank you for listening to our Pick 6 broadcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Jock Journalist and also on Facebook at Jock and Journalist. Peace.